Good evening, everyone. Father Vinod, good evening.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening, Leon.
Good evening to one and all, and welcome to another episode of Tea with Salesians. Let's raise up our cups. Cheers, Bosco. Okay, to begin with, I've got some interesting riddles for us. Let's see if you can get it. Okay, the first one is, what has a head and a tail but no legs and does not move? What has a head and a tail but no legs and does not move?
Is it a coin?
Dead snake.
Who's this? Who said? Is it a coin?
Yeah, it's me, Sajid.
Okay, Sajid, sahi jawab. It's a coin. Okay,
Dead snake.
a coin. So clap.
Yes.
Clap for Sajid. Good. Yeah. The next one. What has eyes but cannot see, tongue but cannot talk, a soul that cannot be saved? What has eyes but cannot see, tongue but cannot talk, a soul that cannot be saved?
Shoes.
Is that a shoe?
Who said it?
Melchin.
Melvin, shoe is correct. Sahi jawab. Sahi jawab. Let's clap. A shoe. Okay. The last one, the best of all the lot. Let's see. Okay. I can store and be stored. I can carry and be carried. I have pockets, zips, and straps. I can store and be stored. I can carry and be carried. I have pockets, zips, and straps. What am I?
Father, is it a bag?
Crystal, sahi jawab. My God, you guys have got all correct. Superb. So we have a coin, shoe, and a bag.
Now, taking it a little further, when Jesus was sending his disciples, he said,
Louder.
when Jesus was sending his disciples, he said, carry no money, carry no shoes, footwear, carry no bag when you are going to preach the good news. But he said you have to carry something in order to be his disciples. What is that?
Carry your own cross.
I'll repeat the question. Carry no money, carry no...
Sheldon is
Carry
on.
your own cross.
Carry the cross.
Who said that? Who's the first one who said it?
Sheldon.
I heard Fiona's voice.
Sajid. He's the
Sajid.
first one who said it.
And Melvin showed the cross also to her. Very good. That's the right answer.
Yeah. So today's topic, the topic for today is the cross. The one thing that is the essential to be a disciple for the Lord. We need to carry our own crosses. Suffering is part and parcel of our life. And during this COVID period, many of us have suffered and are suffering. We have suffered loss of life of our near ones, our friends. We have suffered financial loss. We have suffered and now we are suffering. And today, let's contemplate on this topic, the cross. I invite Father Leon Cruz to introduce our guest speakers.
Okay, our first talk is titled as Feelings About the Cross. Each of us, we have our own feelings about the cross. Yeah. For some love the cross, some are not so comfortable with the name of the word cross. Today we have with us Melvin Joseph, who is going to speak to us about from her perspective, what are the feelings of the cross, especially from a youth perspective. Yeah. So Meljin Joseph, she is from Pune. She's an IT engineer, and she's also currently a member of the Jesus Youth National Council. Meljin?
Hello, Father. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So, hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here. I'm not a tea person. I just drink water. So, that's all that I have here beside me. I do not drink cold drinks, hot drinks, warm drinks, soft drinks. I only drink water. So, that's all that I have beside me right now. So, good evening to all of you. Um, okay, so I will start with how this came up to be and why I am speaking here today. So actually, Father had asked me to speak on another topic before, but I was very busy that day. I had some other commitments, and when Father asked me this week, I'm like, "अरे Father, ठीक है मैं करती," because मुझे लगा I thought that मैं बहुत भाव खा रही हूँ, ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए Father को. So I told Father, "ठीक है, I'll do it." And then he told me, "Imagine it's about the cross." And I said, "Father, no, I can't speak about the cross." Then he said, "Why?" So I said that the same morning when he called me, I mean, the day he called me, that morning when I was sitting in prayer. So I had been gifted this benediction cross 7 years now, and it's always been beside me at my bedside. And so while sitting in personal prayer that day, that morning, I just looked at the cross and I say, "Why don't I feel anything looking at you? Why do I always I'm very close to the Holy Eucharist. I love going for Mass, and as much as possible, by God's grace, I've not missed Mass for a lot of time. Even during this COVID days, online, our family attends Mass. And I love sitting at the Blessed Sacrament. I can sit there for hours, maybe do nothing, maybe not even speak, but just sit there and be there. But this cross is something that I have not really related to much. And that morning I was telling him, Lord, all the saints whom I have heard about are so passionate about the cross. Saint Thomas Aquinas, Padre Pio, Saint John of the Cross. There is no saint who has not, been fond of the cross. And I keep looking at it, and I'll show you my room. It has a, Passion of Christ ka Jesus ka photo there. And I look at it, it has all, the thorn is pierced, the crown is pierced into his head, there's blood flowing, there are tears flowing. And I look at it and I say, Lord, I do not feel anything. Why do I not feel anything? And I just think that there are how many of us or how many of the youth who do not probably relate to the cross. We do have crosses of our own life, which the Lord is asking us to carry. But I think that this cross becomes our strength when we have realized the value of this particular cross, when we have realized of why the Lord has taken up the cross for all of us. Why is cross, which was once at his time a symbol of insult, of shame, of sin, and of being discarded from their community, of such insult, why did that cross become for us a sign of victory for the whole mankind? The whole mankind, all that were, is, and will be to come. And I think the Lord somehow, so when I was looking at my own life, and in these days when Father asked me to reflect, and I was just thinking, maybe, what would it be that the Lord wants me to think about this cross? And so I have a small sharing to give. And I remember just before when Father started, he said a lot of us have faced a lot of crosses in this quarantine times. And I have also, I would say I was blessed to have such an experience of that cross. So when this COVID started and we were all at home, lockdown, in the month of April, I knew that my current project work would be getting over because I had finished all the tasks that were assigned to me, and I knew that maybe we might have an extension of maybe 3 months or not. I was kind of sure that, not sure, I had anticipated that there would be something coming up related to job. And so I just told to my manager, I just spoke to my manager saying that, sir, I do not have much work right now. You can assign me any other task so I can be in the project and help the other team members in working. And he said, okay, that's a good idea, Meljin. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And the next day he calls me back and he says, oh, Meljin, I just spoke to the client and they said that they don't need you anymore. So I said, and he literally used these words. He said, Melvin, they said that they do not need you anymore. So we will be releasing you on Monday from the project. And my current company, we have like a 3 months pool policy. So you have to get another project within that time. And when I heard that, it was a shock because there wasn't enough time. I thought I would have at least 1 month in the project and then, 2-3 months more in the pool and probably get another project. And but I was shocked to have a weekend news. So Monday was my last day, and I did not really know what to do because my current company did not have any more projects in the same tool that I was working in. And I kept frantically searching for jobs online and not knowing what to do. But my mom says, Neljan, do your part and let the Lord do what He has in plan for you. And I studied new tools. I did a lot of things. Out of 40 companies which I applied, only 2 came back to me. And we had an interview, and I did not. One of them I cleared around, the other one I did not clear around, and they never called back. So basically, I did not clear those interviews. And September, actually the last week of August, I get another call from my own company saying that, Melvin, there's a project, maybe we can, see if you can do it. I said, sir, I'll try and I will do everything that I can to, get into the project, because basically I did not have another offer in hand. And at such times, you don't want to be jobless when already the whole world is facing such situations. And I said, okay, if that is the will of God, I'll do my part of searching job, and I will do everything that I can and hold on to it. And last week, before the 1st of August, I get a call from so I had a client interview, and I cleared the client interview. I already had my client ID created. And 2 days later, I get a call from my company HR saying, oh, Melvin, it's supposed to be your last day in the whole company on coming Monday, which was 31st August. And I told him, but no, sir, I have a project in my name, and they said that they would assign it. And he said, if that is the case, ask them to assign you immediately to the project. Others we'll have to, take you out. And I was completely shattered because it was a night. It was a Thursday when all of this came to me, and I spoke to the project manager, and he said, oh no, Melvin, you're not confirmed yet. We need at least a week or more to confirm you. And that night, I was just in shock of, okay, this is how the entire world is facing right now. I'm not the only one. To be jobless, to not have money, to be dependent on somebody for something is not a good feeling at all. And that night, when I was going off to sleep, I had no mood of prayer, absolutely no mood of prayer. And then I said, oh Lord, if this is what you will for me, if this is the cross that you give me, I will take it. And I had already imagined, I will tell all my Jesus Youth friends, hey guys, I have a news, and maybe it's good that I have lost my job. So I had already anticipated all the messaging, all the drama that I have to do, that I have also lost my job and all. And but in my heart, I was like, if this is the will of God, I will do it, and I will do it gladly. And the next day itself, I get another call saying, oh, she may be confirmed, we are not yet sure. And I was like, okay, fine. I did not respond to it. I was not really sure that the job will be in or out. And on Sunday, the 30th of August night, around 9:30, I get a call saying that, Melvin, you're on the project from tomorrow. So basically my last day in my company was typically my first day in my new project. And I did not look at it as much of a cross that time. But when Father asked me, Melvin, why don't you share about the feelings of the cross? And I realized that we do not understand the essence of this cross unless we look at our own lives and see that the crosses that the Lord has given us are actually stepping stones towards love for Him. In First Corinthians, chapter 1, verse, where is that? Yeah, verse 23, St. Paul says, we preach Christ crucified. Paul could have preached a lot of other things, but if you see a majority of his letters, he speaks about the crucifixion of Christ. And I think we never get united to Christ, or we really never understand the depth of His love if we haven't understood the depth of that cross or that suffering. And I think we move more and more towards it when we understand how much the Lord brings small crosses in our lives, sometimes हम लोग ये सोचते हैं कि अच्छा ठीक है, this luck, there was no luck for me, or ठीक है, this is just a bad time in my life, or we do not look at it as a cross, and I think we lack that grace, or we do not go forward and look at that grace. Oh my God, I have got a real cross in my life, and thank God for it. We jokingly say, in husbands and I'm not married yet. My husbands and wife usually say, "Arey, she's a cross for me. इतना बड़ा मतलब सिर पे सर दर्द है." But I have heard a lot of preachers saying that that cross is one that has sanctified them more than what they were before. And maybe let us ask for grace to look at our own lives and see how much the Lord has brought crosses. Because if there is no cross in our life, trust me, we do not really experience the love of God without crosses. The more the crosses, the more the blessings, and the more loved we are. St. Alphonsus says, I do not remember the exact quote, but she says, if there's a day without suffering, means you are, you've not been as close enough to Christ. Something like that. I do not remember the exact verses. But I think that I thank you, Father, for giving, asking me to speak on this topic, because I myself wouldn't have meditated much. हम लोग बहुत सारे क्रिश्चियंस ऐसे हैं कि जब किसी को बोलना पड़ता है तब सीखते हैं. It's really that we reflect on our own lives. It's only when we have to give a session or talk to somebody that we study on something. And I thank God, maybe He wanted me to realize this the beauty of the cross in my own life, and maybe grow towards it. So that's all that I have to share much. And I won't say my secret desire, but I just know that if you want to become a saint, ask the Lord to help us understand the beauty of the cross. And if you read the life of saints, they all talk about how passionately close they were to the cross, or how much they held on to it. So let us ask also for the grace that we also reach at such love with Him that maybe without the cross, we do not know Christ at all. So that's it. That's all I have to share. Thank you. May the cross of God strengthen each of us in our faith journey towards Him. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Miljin. Yeah, thanks for the beautiful sharing. Next, we have Father Vinod with us, who is going to speak to us about the cross and suffering. Father Vinod is a Salesian priest. He's also currently the provincial secretary and also a professor of philosophy. Father Vinod?
Yeah.
Just check if you can share your screen. If there's any problem, let me know.
No, it still says host disabled participant screen sharing. No, don't worry, it's okay.
Okay, I'll check that, yeah.
Miljin, thank you very much. Might make references to your talk if I remember as I share what I put down. A friend of mine was...
Father Vinod, I managed to get it. Now you can share. I managed to get the setting.
Thanks. Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, Father.
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
Fine. Yeah. So a friend of mine was admiring the crucifix I wear when I'm in Mafti. And then he added, we all have crosses, only the size and weight differ. And I thought that was something very profound. And while it's profound, it also sums up a core principle of Christianity. The cross suffering was an integral part of the life of Jesus. It is an integral part of the life of a Christian, of a disciple. In the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus makes 3 predictions of his passion. Chapter 16, 17, 21 of Matthew, 8, 9, and 10 of Mark, in Luke twice in 9 and once in 18. And in each of these, he reveals a certain necessity about his suffering. Easy for us to remember the gospel 2 Sundays ago. Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things, and must. Think of the dialogue with the disciples on the road to Emmaus. He asked the disciples, did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter into his glory? Again, a certain necessity, have to. So from where does this necessity of suffering come? It comes from doing the will of God. Let me clarify already here. God does not will that we suffer. God does not wish that we suffer. I do not believe in a God who is a sadist. My God is not a sadist. He doesn't take pleasure in giving us suffering. And so there are two aspects of this doing the will of God. First, suffering comes from aligning our will with God's will. And also in the life of Jesus. Recall that very moving scene at Gethsemane and Jesus' anguish-filled prayer. Father, if you are willing, take this cup away from me. Take this cup away from me. Jesus did not want to suffer. He did not want the cross. Now, in our preaching, our reflection, our meditation, we really think of this first part of the prayer. We tend to focus exclusively on what comes next. Nevertheless, not your will. Nevertheless, your will be done, not mine. And I think in doing so, we miss out on the anguish Jesus felt in aligning his will with the will of God. And I believe that at least a part of that suffering in the garden came from this struggle. The struggle to say, let your will be done. What is true of Jesus is also true of his disciples, of us. Think of Mary at the Annunciation. Again, we focus on the yes. Let it be done to me as you have said. We rarely think of the question she asked, how can this be? We rarely think of a struggle to understand and accept God's will for her. A struggle that must have lasted the whole of her life. Milton referred to the saints who were passionate about the cross. We can talk for hours about the saints and their struggles, but I want to talk about us. Think of our struggle of finding God's will first, and then the struggle to align our will with his. Why is there this struggle? I think St. Bernard puts it very beautifully. The boldness of our will revolts against the rightness of God's will. He says the two cannot be brought together into agreement. They cannot be made to fit together. Human as we are, I want to do things my way, and that's where the struggle comes. And so perhaps we can avoid the struggle, the suffering, by doing what we want. It's easy. आसान है ना? जो मेरा मर्जी है मैं वो करूँगा. But if you've done it, you know that even this causes suffering. And again, St. Bernard adds, life is in his will. What is in harmony with his will is both useful and beneficial for us. The way to happiness, the way to joy, is by going through the struggle to align my will with the will of God. The second aspect of suffering is that it comes from doing God's will. After aligning our will with God comes the doing, fulfilling our mission in life. I said earlier, Jesus did not want the cross. He did not choose the cross. He did not choose the path of suffering. No, he was not a masochist. It followed as a consequence of fulfilling his mission. And what was this mission? Jesus gives a very clear statement of his mission in his visit to the synagogue at Nazareth. You will remember this text very well. He goes to the synagogue. The scroll of the prophet Isaiah is given to him. He unrolls the scroll and finds the place where it is written, "He has anointed me, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor," and so on. And then he hands the scroll back, sits down, and says, "Today the scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." It is the proclamation of the good news in word and deed which caused growing animosity towards Jesus, starting with his own townsfolk, and then other people and the scribes and the Pharisees. His announcing of the good news, the interpretation of the law, the religious practices, the healings, the exorcisms, the forgiveness of sins, the association with sinners, his claim that he was God's son. All that he said and did during his public ministry would lead to conflict. This fulfillment of his mission caused his townsfolk to disown him, his family to think that he was nuts, the religious authorities to make plans to do away with him, and eventually led to his passion and death on the cross. You give people what they want, you do what they want, they leave you in peace. You don't, they leave pieces of you. It was the same with Paul, and Elgin referred to the suffering that Paul underwent. If you read the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 11, verses 23 onwards, 10 verses, you will have a long but partial list of all that Paul suffered. And Paul sees suffering as something inherent to his ministry. The result, the consequence of his ministry, his mission as an apostle. And then he writes something very powerful in the letter to the Philippians. It has been granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for him. Again, think of what happens when you try to fulfill God's mission, God's plan in your life. Think of your experiences when you have lived by the values of the gospel, when you have lived by your convictions, when you have lived an upright life. What have you faced? Almost always, it will be suffering. Now, there are other sources of suffering. We call that Jesus felt sorrow for Jerusalem. We read in Luke chapter 13, he wept over Jerusalem, Luke chapter 19, because it missed the opportunity for peace that he was offering. He foresaw the destruction the people would face if they did not change their ways. And he wept because he was powerless to do anything to change them. I think we too experience suffering when we see our loved ones going down the wrong path and we are powerless to do anything. We can tell them, but we can't do anything to stop them. And then there's the big source of suffering, which comes from sickness and disasters. Now, this is something we need to alleviate. We need to lessen. 3 very quick points here. Right through his public ministry, Jesus sought to alleviate such suffering. He healed the deaf, the dumb, the blind, the lame, the leper. He cast out demons. He raised the dead to life. He associated with the marginalized. And we need to strive to alleviate such suffering. It is part of our human condition, but it is not a consequence of discipleship, or at least it's not a necessary consequence of discipleship. And so we need to strive, like Jesus did, to alleviate. A little personal experience here. During my years of theology, I was recovering from a freak accident and multiple ankle surgeries. And I used to be in agonizing pain. There were days I could not walk. And I remember, I always will, what Father Dominic Belayet, my principal, a brilliant theologian, that's important, and even more important, a wonderful human being, said to me. He said, look, in this day and age, I do not believe that there is nothing more that can be done to remedy the situation. You give me your case papers, I will send them to my brothers, doctors in the States, and we'll see what can be done. If nothing can be done, then Christian resignation and all that. But we must try. That last line is very powerful. If nothing can be done, then Christian resignation. I think we must strive to alleviate suffering which comes from disease and disaster. What cannot be alleviated, what cannot be lessened, we accept in faith and with God's grace. I think it's important to understand this. Why? Again, let me quote a famous author, because he puts it very briefly but beautifully. Henry Nouwen. In his book, Finding My Way Home, he writes, "Not seldom is competent medical or psychological help delayed or avoided in the conviction that it is better to suffer for God. Not seldom have the sick, the poor, the handicapped, and all those who suffer been romanticized as God's privileged children without much support to free them from their fate." We need to strive to alleviate such suffering. Suffering which is necessary for Christ and the Christian, to sum up, comes from doing God's will and fulfilling one's mission in life. I think this is portrayed brilliantly in the parable of the bamboo. It's a long story, but I will shorten it as much as I can. In the center of a certain kingdom was a beautiful garden, and in the center of that garden, a bamboo, which was the most beloved of the master. And one day the master wanted to use the bamboo, and the bamboo was delighted. The day in which he would find its completion and destiny had come. And so the master comes to the bamboo and says, "I want to use you." And the bamboo is thrilled. And the master says, "But I need to cut you." And the bamboo says, "You use me, but don't cut me down." And the master says, "But then I can't use you." And so eventually, bamboo yields. And then follows a series of conversation with the same pattern. The master wants to chop the branches, strip the leaves, split it in two, and each time the bamboo resists, but eventually yields. And so the master chops the bamboo, takes off its branches, its leaves, splits it in two, removes it, removes the heart, and then gently carries it to a spring of water. Places one end at the spring, the other end in the dry field. And the water flows through that channel. Rice is planted, eventually shoots grow, and the harvest comes. And in that day, bamboo, which was so glorious in its beauty, became even more glorious in its brokenness.
Father Vinod?
Yeah, I'm through.
We have only 1 minute left. Yes, if you can.
I'm through.
Yeah. And just a note to everyone, if the meeting gets over, please check your WhatsApp and get into your group discussions. Father Vinod, you can conclude.
God acts through our brokenness. God acts through our brokenness. But the cross of Christ indicates that God can transform suffering through love. The question we need to ask ourselves is, am I willing to be broken? Am I willing to align my will with God's? Am I willing to fulfill the plan He has for me? And I leave you with this last quote. Christ's redemption on the cross does not mean that we will not suffer, but it equips us to face suffering. Thank you.
We thank Father Vinod and also Melchin for the beautiful sharing that you have given us, reflections on the cross and the suffering and the beautiful insights. Before we leave this meeting, let's take a small resolution to memorize this one verse, no? Luke 9:23. If you wish to be my disciples, let us deny ourselves,